Well, welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. It's a little bit of a secret Twitch stream today, as we are doing this live on Twitch, but this will be posted up to YouTube in just a little bit, perhaps before even the daily doodle close, which I'd be very, very happy about that. But with that said, we got plenty to talk about on good old Bitcoin. I want to follow up from this morning's video, as we actually have hit the area that we've been looking at for the past couple weeks, actually 2-3 weeks now, to the T almost. So things are getting quite exciting once again. But I want to remind myself to scale back my own interpretations of these charts, because at the end of the day, on the higher time frames, we're still looking at mostly a range, mostly sideways action. I don't want to make anyone like FOMO or anything like that. I don't want to get into an emotional state myself. And realistically, more often than not, things are more or less going sideways. But there are a lot of interesting things going on, and this is the time to really be posturing for and looking at the next big move. So with that said, I'm going to beam us up and into the live stream. But before that, I would like to wish you the best of the best and also the happiest of the happiest. And let's hit that button, baby, and I'll see you in the live stream. There we go. And into it. There it is. Beautiful. Okay, finally got it. I was worried about that for a second. Anyways, looking at the daily right now, daily is pretty nasty, to be fair. I don't really see the daily. I don't really see anything too much positive about the daily, as long as we're in this region right here. From a more immediate standpoint perspective, to be 100% clear, not talking long term. Long term, I'm still bullish on Bitcoin. Macro term on Bitcoin, still, it hasn't really changed. Nothing really changed for me, as long as it's supposed to be above about 9,500. But in the current area right now, looking at this, looking at kind of like the lower time frames, if Bitcoin does close today's daily doodle below the yellow 20 month exponential moving average, I would look for this move to get actually extended at the very least to about 10.6-ish region, at the very least, and then we'll kind of reassess if and when we do get around there. But that actually would line up with what we see on GBTC right now. GBTC did get all the way down to its green 50 exponential moving average, and more importantly, if we do, or I suppose just as important, it's kind of gotten to the same area that we see from 23rd, 24th of July into this region, which would correlate with Bitcoin somewhere right around about 10.2. So that's a big contingency to what I'm looking at in my own opinions on Bitcoin right now, because I'm actually not really expecting to move down to about 10.2 myself. But again, expectations not a good thing to be having as a trader. And more importantly, more importantly, expectations are not what I trade off of, is what I really want to say. But going back into spot charts right here, if we do close today's daily doodle below the 21, then yes, I would be looking for this move to get extended at the very least down to about 10.6. It's still very much within range, of course, because the main areas that I'm really concerned with right now is based off actually the 4 hour, which is what we've been looking at for the past couple weeks, 2-3 weeks now. And again, I'm going to repeat a lot of the things that I've said before, but it is quite important here as we are actually within this region. So of course, I won't go through like the whole examples and all that kind of stuff. If you want the whole examples, definitely go check out my long-term analysis playlist. And what's up over there? What's up, Kazoki? And there he is. Time for some magic and money, baby. My fucking man. Gotta love it, man. Gotta fucking love those triangles. Anyways, with regards to this, I'll go through the spiel for a second, but I'm not going to do the examples. But basically, I've gone through all of the golden crosses and death crosses in a general upwards market in Bitcoin's history. I found that on average, typically they take about 2 weeks to go from death cross to golden cross. That's exactly what we see in this current one right on over here from 22nd of July to the 4th of August. They typically have about 10 to 20% to the downside, which we see also right around here as well, about 12.5% to the downside. So certainly very much within its range. And then more importantly, and what's of particular interest here, after you get the golden cross, we typically see a bout on average, and again, this is I'm talking about statistics purely here. On average, we see about a doubling in price action done over the course of about 2 to 4 months. So that actually would kind of line us up with a end of 2020 kind of, end of 2019 price range, if you want to call it that, as we did get the cross right over here at about $10,300. So that, if we were to actually double this and play in line with those statistics, then yes, we would be looking at actually technically new all-time highs, or just right around our last prior high. At that point in time, hundreds of dollars doesn't really make too much of a difference, right? It's right around that region to begin with. But my point is that now we're in the very interesting part, because with all of that fun stuff that I just spoke about, now we get to actually see the trade emerge, if this is actually going to work out or not. Because remember, with technical analysis, no trade is 100% guaranteed, like fucking verbatim to work out. That's crystal ball type shit. As far as I know, on this day of the 14th of August of 2019, I don't believe that it can be done. But if that changes in the future, then maybe we'll have to make another video. But for right now, I've not been able to see that been done. And more importantly, we have gone off the actual historical statistics, and it does look, and that does actually play off pretty damn well. Anyways, the important thing right here is that after getting the golden cross and then after getting these two exponential moving averages, both the green 50 exponential moving average and the purple 200 exponential moving average right over here, which are our golden cross and death cross moving averages above the white 200 simple, both of them above the white 200 simple, each and every time after we see that, we typically see, not typically, but we always see a test down either to the 200 exponential moving average or the 200 simple moving average. As you can see right here, we've already actually tested the 200 exponential moving average right around 10.8 region, the 200 simple coming in right around about 10.650. So both, kind of creating a nice little range here, which is where I have my my apt boo box, as you can see. And again, if you just want to kind of take that off from the stream, about 10.650 to about 10.850 in this range right around here, that's essentially what I'm looking at. So each and every time after we got the golden cross, we actually do come down and test around this region. Now here's the thing: do we test around the exponential or the simple? Well, they're actually kind of to be regarded one and the same. There's no rhyme or reason for that. We could still very easily come down to the bottom side of this range, about 10.650ish region, which would line up with that next level if Bitcoin were to destroy, or sorry, not necessarily destroy is the wrong word, but if Bitcoin actually were to close below the yellow 21 exponential moving average today. So that actually would line up pretty damn well. And of course, head down to our next target, which, by the way, would be, not just the lower end of that 200 simple, but also if we go over, if we go over here to the daily, we see that the 50 exponential moving average is coming in around here, which, by the way, that's also where GBTC was as well. And GBTC has been trading ahead of spot prices for the past couple weeks, or actually maybe like 2-3 weeks now. Made the first move to the downside right over here, then made the first move to the upside, and then once again made the first move to the downside. You can see that GBTC in the same sort of posturing. Very, 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 very similar is what I really want to say. Anyways, going back on over into spot charts. This is now the fun part, because as we've seen in historically speaking, after Bitcoin gets this signature right here, we get the test, and we've actually gotten the test thus far. The question is now, is this it? Was that it? And of course, everyone's getting all crazy because Bitcoin didn't just drop down to it and then immediately like double in price, which is not the way that this is going to work out. This is still going to take a long time. Remember, 2 to 4 months. It's going to be a slow grind. We're talking about macro behavior here. This requires a lot of patience, a lot of fucking patience. But I would say, and this is the key point of a stream like this, I would say that I am in line with those. I am in line with that, and I'm taking that trade. Like full disclosure, I am long based off that. Unfortunately, I can't show my account right now because I am doing this live stream on Twitch, so I have to do it through VPN, and the bandwidth just fucking sucks. It makes it impossible to stream live. But the next uploaded video, I'm happy to show that. It's basically the same position that I've been showing the whole way through, although I did buy some more down around in this region. Anyways, I am happy to hold that position as long as we remain above the white 200 simple moving average right on over here, which is about 10.650. As long as we maintain above there, as long as we're closing 4-hour dildos above there, I have no real reason to let go. That's sort of my area where this trade idea gets invalidated. Technically speaking, I'd really want to see both an open and close below the white 200 simple, but I do believe that a close below would probably be enough to scare me out of at least a little of my position, or at least cover, using options, which a little bit of a little bit of a cheat code right now, especially the way that Bitcoin moves. Anyways, we can go back in time and just briefly look at how these tests usually operate, because I think it'll probably assuage a lot of people's fears, or kind of like, I just see like a lot of emotional bullshit going on kind of like around the spheres right now. So I just want to give an idea of what I'm looking at, and perhaps this can shed some light on, on what the expectations could be if this is going to play out. So looking at the last prior just straight upwards market during 2016 to 2018-ish region, we do see, the same sort of moving averages, having this interplay essentially. We see the death cross, golden cross takes about a week and a half. We get the golden cross, and then after that, we get the 2 golden cross moving averages above the white 200 simple. We come down and test the 200 simple right here extremely aggressively, but it does happen. This one's actually quite immediate, though. You can see this one immediately bounces back up above the above the 200 exponential moving average. Spends about a day and a half grinding it out right here, but ultimately just this one just flies higher. This one actually makes it quite easy. In fact, this is probably one of the more lenient examples, if you want to call it that. This one, however, only about a 55% gain. Then again, only a 55% gain. At the same point in time, it's on a much smaller time frame. This one only takes about 49 days, 50 days-ish, which the other ones take about a little bit more than that, about half more time than that. Anyways, you have this next example right over here. You see Bitcoin gets death cross, golden cross, takes about 2 weeks. Then we get both the exponentials above the white 200 simple, and then we come down a little bit later, a few days later, actually pretty damn similar to what we're looking at right now, down around the purple 200 exponential moving average. Now, this one does not officially test it, but you can see that, as what's the word that I'm looking for? But in practicality, that counts. This is a test of the 200 exponential moving average, and it passes with flying colors. But here's the thing. you see that we actually grind this area out quite a bit. This happens over the course of the 13th of April all the way to the 16th of April. This is about 3 days worth of price action right here, where we come down and test this multiple times. So I just want to make very, very certain that, you know, when you're looking at this price action right now, there's no massive rush to get into position. These things are likely to take their time. Let's go to this next example on over here. There we go. Oh, there we are. There it is. Death Cross, Golden Cross. This one takes about 2 weeks as well. We get both the exponentials above the white 200 simple, and this one actually does close below, but we get no opens and closes below. So of course that is, you know, the main way of that is the confirmed kill of a moving average, of course. And you can see that Bitcoin does end up flying upwards and always. But more importantly, we spend about 2 days in this region. We spend from the 25th of July all the way to the 26th, like late on the 26th. So about a day and a half, 2 days within this region, grinding it out. You know, it's testing it. It's giving it a lot of giving it a lot of weight. And then more importantly, after that, we do see about a 100% increase in price action right here. Yeah, about 106% actually, 107. Then we get the same thing right over here, of course. Bitcoin gets Death Cross, Golden Cross, takes about a couple weeks. Then we get both the exponentials above the white 200 simple, and you can see that I do consider this a test down right and over here as well. This one within about 1% of the white 200 simple. Sorry, right around there, about 1.25 actually. So certainly within the bounds of it. And this one obviously a lot more fast as well. So we have examples of both, but I would say that, you know, if you want to look at this conservatively speaking, as a trader, I look at this as, you know, as a valid trade idea as long as we're both opening and closing dildos above 4-hour dildos, not any other time frame, above this pivot right here on the white 200 simple moving average, which does accurately line up with our kind of our order block territory. If I go back on over here in the blue box, and so I really do like this as a pivot. Obviously, also lining up with the daily 50 exponential moving average, as well on the bottom end. To be fair. So with all of that said, you know, what I'm looking at for here is I'm looking at just Bitcoin not to break it. That's all, and essentially just grind it out for a little bit of time. If it breaks it, you know, then the trade idea is obviously nullified. It's time, you know, it's time to cover. It's time to take, if you're trading just spot, it's time to take a loss. If you're trading options, it's time to cover. Which that's the beauty of options. You know, there's never like a huge. It doesn't really hurt to like cover on options, right? Because you're likely still making money off of it. But more importantly, if we actually do that, if we actually destroy this trade idea, now like talking specifically to the downside, if we actually do open and close a 4-hour dildo below the white 200 simple, below about 10,650-ish, we'll call it 10,7 if you want to be a little more aggressive, then yes, I think extremely likely, I think extremely likely, and it's not really saying too much, to come down and test around 10.2 region. However, I do think that it'd be a lot more probable that we actually come all the way back down around here into the 4 digits, right around 9,500-ish, give or take a few bucks. So this area is a massive pivot actually in the way that I look at it from the medium time frame perspectives. Of course, on the higher time frames, does anything really change if we actually shoot through this area? I mean, it certainly wouldn't look good, but from like a macro perspective, nothing really changes as long as we're below this guy right over here at about 12.3, 12.4, and above this guy right over here at about 9.5-ish region. So as long as we're kind of operating within those bounds, everything is just to be considered as one piece of the whole consolidation, remember. And this is really what I see, this is what I really see a lot of people kind of get, maybe a little bit more worked up over than I think is really appropriate. Again, this is my personal opinion, of course, but just kind of perusing the interwebs, I suppose you could say. At the end of the day, this is still just all sideways action right here. Nothing really crazy is going on right now. I don't see any sort of major breakouts or major breakdowns. I do think that higher time frames do kind of show a more bullish picture, longer term. I would be long term bullish. I would be macro term bullish, of course. But timing this sort of a move, I do think that we actually have made some massive progress with the last weekly dildo close right over here. That does set my bias to the upside, with just us closing back above 11,500 for the first time in over a year. I think this is better to be maybe looked at on my Finex chart. There we go. Or actually, I don't even have it in anymore. But let's go right in over here and kind of describe this situation. But basically, Bitcoin had a massive, what do you want to call this? Do you want to call it a stop run? Do you want to call it a hunt? Do you want to call it a trap? It would certainly be a trap, but it's most importantly institutional order flow dynamics at play right at this 12,000-ish region from February of 2018. Remember when Bitcoin essentially doubled from 6,000 all the way to 12,000? Well, that was a very carefully orchestrated piece of price action. You can see that Bitcoin doubled in price action from the low. Very impressive, but more importantly, it never actually did anything to the major structure. We never got any higher highs. We just basically came in line with the last little breakdown from January of 2018. And that's very important because once we got to that level, that's the major pivot. And to get to a major pivot like that and then immediately and almost, I don't want to say artificially, but obviously, you know, maneuvered by some market movers to sell off from this area extremely aggressively. I mean, this is what, if you were around during this time, which I'm sure most people were around during this time, this was a fucking intense piece of price action right here. And that's a damn good insight into knowing what the big market movers are thinking. They're essentially presenting the illusion of a massive breakout to the upside, generating liquidity for themselves. Now they have all these fucking buyers, and then they can dump those red dildos in their face, baby. Santa Claus getting really, really excited about that one. Anyways, I'm sure we all know what happens for the next year following that, just straight down essentially, and we never even got back to about 11,500 anytime, you know, soon after that. But more importantly, you do see that this level was respected on the way back up. You can see that up until now essentially, but in early July, you do see that we actually tested this region. We came just shy of closing above. We get all this wicks kind of accumulated in this region right here. So we do know that this area is still being treated as a pivot. Of course, it's going to be treated as a pivot. It was a massive piece of historical price action running over here. So going forwards, it's, you know, it retains that sort of moniker on it, if you want to call it that. Anyways, looking at this right now, we did do something very, 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 very unique, something that we haven't done since that February area with the advent of last week's closure. We actually closed above that region. Now, here's the thing. Did we close above it? We didn't necessarily close it above it. We closed inside of it, which is not as good, but it's good. It's good, but it's not as good. It would make me feel a lot more confident if we actually closed above this region, which would officially be at about 11.9. Yeah, I think about 11.9. If we could get a dildo body closing above there, that'd be great. Insert fucking Mimi right there with the Staples guy. Anyway, if you know what I'm talking about, I don't even know what the fuck I don't even know what movie I'm referencing there. But anyways, looking at this right here. I do believe that this is certainly more positive, or I shouldn't say certainly, but this is more positive than negative. Closing back in this region is a change of behavior in the way that I look at it. Like I said, it would be a lot more confidence inducing if we could get this next dildo to close back above about 11.9 region, back above the blue box, as that is also confluent not only with that as a chart, it's basically just a horizontal in the most basic sense, but putting on a volume profile right here, we do see that the volume profile is showing the same sort of activity. That's exactly what we want to see. Naturally, you should see influences between these two, and you see that the volume profile is showing resistance right in this region right here. It's kind of like the last of the higher value nodes in this region. It's certainly not a high value node to begin with. I mean, it's nowhere near what we saw at the 6,000 level or the 3,000 level when Bitcoin was moving like fucking molasses, super boring. But looking at this right here, this is relative to the current price action to the surrounding price action. It is the higher value nodes, I suppose you could say. More importantly, it lines up directly with that horizontal that we just spoke about, and anywhere above this, as you can see, extremely low market acceptance. So if you think that Bitcoin was ripping through the 8,000s to 10,000s, if Bitcoin can actually clear this next little hump right here, really fully and formally confirm above it, this is pretty much no man's land right here. I mean, Jesus Christ, man, there's gonna be flying price action both ways. I mean, you're gonna see fucking massive ranges just because there's not too much to be going off about. After that, you do see a little bit of interest right around this 16,000-ish level right on over here, and guess what? Guess fucking what? Is that relevant to past prior action as well? You're goddamn right it is. Look at this area right on over here. We do see that the bull trap, the great bull trap of 2017, 2018, if you want to call it that, coming in this region as well. And where is it coming in around? 16,500-ish region. So we do see that get respected, amongst time. So, we do have validity to this is what I'm trying to say. Anyways, while on the lower time frames, we can come up with all sorts of sexy, measure moves and whatnot. I could just generally say that if Bitcoin does clear this next level, like I said, we can come up with the price targets. Yeah, 15,000 is going to be on the board, 16,500 as you just saw. Obviously, the prior high of 20,000. But generally, I'd just be thinking up. It would be major resolution on a higher time frame for the macro to actually begin trending once again, which and this is going to sound pretty damn crazy, but for the last 6 months, while Bitcoin has been aggressively moving to the upside, we haven't really changed too much from the, well, I shouldn't say that. We have trained a lot from the macro. But as far as this formation as a whole, if you really just got rid of all the prices on the right-hand side, you'd say that this is actually quite orderly in a sense. Again, putting on our crypto goggles right now, this actually would be okay. So anyways, checking out CMEs, let's go over here. Let's see what CMEs are doing. CMEs actually came all the way down to the red 10 moving average on the weekly and actually did fill the gap to the downside right here. So let's see if we actually do. Let's see if we can line this up with anything on the lower time frames. We do see on the lower time frames that CME is kind of in no man's land as far as volume profile says. Would actually look like we have a little bit more downside back into the 10.7-ish region, which would line up with the daily 50 exponential moving average as we spoke about at the beginning of this video. It's kind of being a likely target if we do close below the 21 today for a short term. Again, really need to have to make a fucking massive effort on my own part to make sure that I separate the low time frames from the medium time frames from the high and the macro time frames. High and macro time frames pretty much unchanged, mostly bullish there. Lower time frames bearish, medium time frames kind of in a decision phase, but I do think that this is an opportunity to have put a little bit of risk on to be transparent. Anyways, looking at CMEs right here, I think that it would mostly line up with that. Yes, we do see the gap filled from 2nd of August right here. So I would be looking for, once we open up the next daily doodle, I actually would be looking for this to test a little bit to the upside and find out where resistance is. Now, here's the thing. We actually did close below the white 200 simple on the CMEs, which for CME action has not been too good historically speaking. You can see, and actually let's just put nothing else on but the white 200 simple. I do want to present both sides here. I really do, just because if Bitcoin does break this area, you're going to see me rapidly switch my strategy. But looking at the 200 simple on CMEs right here, you can see that generally speaking, it's not super exact, but generally speaking, it's a good guide for what sort of phase we're in. When we're above it, generally good. When we're below it, generally bad. And you can see that Bitcoin kind of flirting around with it once again. Is it an opportunity, or is this, or are these a changing times right here? Well, I would say, at first glance, I always go with the former trend, so I would say that is an opportunity. But if we do start opening and closing multiple dildos below the white 200 simple, I would say that that's going to be another big warning sign that we do want to head back down into the 4 digits, if I say so. Anyways, going back to the daily right here, do we see anything else about the daily? Do I have all my major moving averages on? No, I do not. 1 second, just let me put these babies back on. There they are, beautiful, colorful, color grow. What's that? What is that one again? Not quite sure. Anyways, yeah, CMEs looks like they actually did confirm below the daily 21. Actually, not looking too hot right there. CMEs actually do look like they want to come a little bit lower, to be fair. 10,650 is kind of where I'd be looking towards. Daily Stokes on CMEs headed down as well. In fact, we can actually see, you can just kind of eyeball a trend line forming here too. So looking at the 50 exponential moving average on the CME's potential target is certainly very much within the realm of possibility right here. That would imply a target down to about 10,250-ish region, which again is confluent with what we see on spot charts right here. So going to be about 52 minutes? Yeah, 52 minutes until from now until the end of the daily diddle close. So I'd imagine that things probably, we'd have to get back above 11,000 just to close above the yellow 21 exponential moving average. Looking a little bit less likely right now. Then again, we've seen a lot crazier things, and $100 rally in the span of almost an hour essentially. What's up, Zach? Zach to the future. Welcome, my friend. Welcome to the cave. Welcome to Twitch. Welcome to the purple pleasure. All that good shit. But overall, like I said, if we actually break this area, it is likely, it's very likely that we should play out this whole consolidation much longer. We're probably going to come down to about 9,600 if that were to happen. But I'm not leaning towards that happening. Actually, I actually do think that this ends up playing out to the upside. Can I be wrong on that? Yeah. And again, my opinion, not something that I really trade off of, but this is going to be based off of technicals here. And more importantly, what I really like about this trade in any trade, what makes a trade good to me to begin with, is when we're actually when I can enter so close to the point where I know I would be wrong on that trade. So for example, right here, the closer that I can enter into, alongside the white 200 simple moving average, the happier I am, because then I have to risk less in order to find out if this trade is going to work out for me or not. That's really the whole validity or advantage of technical analysis, really. Just kind of know that fact, and you can mitigate the loss potential on a trade, which enhances your potential profits over time. Of course, just one part of the equation. Anyways, looking at this right here, it does look to me like we actually do want to hold up. Do we want to hold up above the purple 200 exponential moving average or not? Looking at our momentum oscillators, we do see 4-hour Stokes to the downside. I think 4-hour, 3-hour are all down right now. 2 hours should be down, and hourly might be. Yeah, hourly's kind of fresh up, but right now, to me, this is kind of going to grind this area out. It's going to going to be up to the higher time frames to actually drive the direction and see if we actually really want to break through this interim right here. Going over to the 12-hour, do we see anything unique about the 12-hour? Not so much. Not really telling us too much info. We do see 12-hour Stokes getting way down there. But this is actually a little bit interesting right here. We do see historical volatility percentile starting to trend upwards again. You can see it's clearly closing above the moving average on this multiple times now. But is the whole still down? Yes, I would say that the whole is still down. The question is, are we beginning a trend? I mean, to me, it actually looks like we're beginning a trend to the upside right here. So volume is expanding to the upside as we see momentum oscillators come all the way down. I do have to line that up, but I'd imagine that if we are going to see an explosion here, probably the biggest thing that I'd really be looking for is I'd be looking for the historical volatility percentile to expand, to explode, while Bitcoin either bounces off of this support or breaks the support. Whichever way that you kind of see that lining up in line, typically with your momentum oscillators, that's usually the way that these things actually break. And with them all kind of coming down to the low side right now, especially on the lower time frames, I would say that actually does kind of offer up a little bit more of an optimistic perspective for Bitcoin. But when you're looking at all that kind of stuff, remember, it's going to take its time, and that's when you get that grinding out piece of price action, similar to what we got running over here during late July, if you remember that. I'm sure everyone remembers. It's like 2 fucking weeks ago. Jesus Christ, man, time is going way too fast. But you get my point. A lot of the time, when you come into those areas and get stuck in the mud, you'll see exactly what we just spoke about, right? So I'm going to go over here to the 4-hour, and you'll see that the 4-hour Stokes getting way down around here. You see 4-hour historical volatility percentile getting very, very low as well. It starts to expand as we actually break as we actually break a resistance. That's kind of the confirmation on it, but the momentum oscillator told you first. I mean, your momentum oscillator is telling you right here on the 28th of July. We're breaking out right in over here on the 31st of July. So that's my point. It's going to take its time to grind itself out if that's what's going to happen, but that's what I'd be looking for if you're going to see some sort of a signature like that. So again, scrolling through the different variations of Bitcoin, we can go check out GBTC for a second. Closed at 1352. Pretty nasty close, to be fair. Really fucking nasty close, to be fair. You can see that the Cyan 89 expansion moving average on GBTC has actually been governing this one pretty damn well on the lows. Even on the highs during the downtrending action, getting it pretty damn well. So I would say that is a major area to be watchful of. If we do break below it, you can just kind of eyeball it that we're very, very likely to come back down to our prior lows. That puts spot right around 9,500-ish region once again. So like I said, this next 2 days of price action are going to be extremely important to kind of judge the medium time frames, which are obviously going to have carry on over to the higher time frames. But remember, as far as the higher macro time frames go, we're quite literally caught in the middle of these two these two pivots, both right here and right here. So until we actually break one of those guys, all this is mental masturbation. Shit changes, as you've seen. Crazy things happen, of course, in cryptocurrency land. Let's go check out the expected moves indicator with regards to historical volatility percentile. It is in a bearish posture, as we spoke about during this morning's video, and we already kind of saw the breakdown from that. We've caught wind of the of the lower side of the first standard deviation and finding support right around there at about 10. This one actually got it to the fucking T. Bali, if you're watching right now, man, this one beautifully got it. Fucking beautiful, man. Anyways, I would say that this is an overall bearish posture with regards to historical volatility percentile to begin with. Really don't like how it's kind of squeezing to the downside right here. So I would imagine that Bitcoin is actually going to find a bottom here. It's gonna spend its time. This is not going to be one of those times where it just like reverses and fucking V bottoms out in the same day. I mean, I think that's quite obvious right now. It's not happening today. If it is going to happen, it's probably going to be later this week or next week. Anyways, going on into the Bitcoin dominance chart. Let me just type this baby in. There we go. I don't know. Do I have it added to my list here? I must have added it to my list. No, I do not. Okay, all right, fair enough. Jesus Christ, man, bad plan on my own part. Anyways, looking at Bitcoin dominance, it does look to me like we actually have found a major top right here. That at the very least we're going to come down on this drive down to about 68.7 region. So altcoins likely going to rally around a little bit here. I don't want to go through like the whole fucking shitcoin carousel roulette, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But what I do want to say is probably most alts are going to be digging in for at the very least a nice relief rally right now. Could it be a legitimate reversal? I mean, I think that these rallies can get extended quite a bit. But I would not necessarily say that I'm bearish on the Bitcoin dominance chart longer term. term. It would only be short term to medium term that I'd be just looking for downside on this one. Bearish is the wrong term, really. Bearish implies, long term downtrend, right? Anyways, looking at the higher time frames here, I'd still be massively bullish on this. This looks damn good to me, no matter which way you kind of paint it on the higher time frames. But we did just kind of hit around our major long term targeting areas. This is shit that we've been waiting for ever since really like December of 2018, right around here. So Bitcoin finally finding these levels, and I do think that it backs off now and consolidates a little bit lower. I think ultimately we probably do find our way back down to about 66.5 to 66%, right in around here. So that would mean that alts are gonna, alts are gonna be allowed to bounce around for the time being. I'd imagine that they probably get like a, maybe like a few weeks, maybe a couple months of a reprieve. But looking at this right now, yes, I would say even short term, I'd be looking for some downside. Probably does bounce around the 68.5% region, but I would be like I said, I would be looking for this likely to come back down into this basey area right here, and then I'd be interested once again in saying that alts are about to get fucking cream bud. But for now, I think that most alts probably gonna be put in basis. Let's go check out just my general index for amazing third generation toilet chain blockchains, shit chains, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Just kidding. No, terrible. Fucking the Cardano gang is really not gonna like that one. Of course not. I'm not picking on Cardano because I hate Cardano or anything like that. It just represents accurately the general altcoin chart. And we're seeing exactly what I was just speaking about right here. I do think that this one does find its way up to about 515 short to medium term. And while I would say it's good to kind of reassess around there, we probably do back off on the first test. Longer term, I do think that we have a chance to actually work our way off a little bit of a base here, just based off the Bitcoin dominance chart. Yes, there's going to be rogues on this one. It's not always going to, not all the altcoins are going to work to, in the same way with each other. But for the most part, you'd imagine that's, you'd imagine that par for the course is what we're seeing right here with Cardano. It's kind of like, neither strong nor weak, just literally right there, neutral. I can take a sip of this water, man. I'm fucking thirsty right now. We have saggy boobs on the 5-minute, says Stallion Milkman. The saggy boob on the minute chart. Man, you need to upgrade to the second chart, baby. Let's go all in here. Holy shit, fuck. Look at this. Oh my god. Jesus Christ. There are people who are spending their lives looking at this right now. Oh my god. This is terrifying right here. This is the second chart. This is literally less than it. I mean, could you even get lower than this? Perhaps not. Anyways, going back on to do I want to look at that more? No, I think we actually spoke about Cardano right there. If you want to see some moving price action, this is just fucking crazy. This is literally operating in the span of a half buck for the last what minute? It looks so crazy though. Anyways. Let's go check out gold for a second. This is not the way that I like to check out gold. Let's go maybe check out gold on a daily. Yeah, so gold also doing something interesting to me as well. Just because gold and Bitcoin have been so heavily correlated, we do see gold putting in the first major signals that it could be put in a top right here. It did hit all of our measured moves to the upside. In fact, even overshot my last one, like my most optimistic one, which I had at 1525. This one getting up to about 1530-ish region. Pretty damn good. And putting in a massive Darth Maul dildo, as you can see right here. Now, here's the thing. I actually would say that this is actually not a confirmed top just yet, but there's a couple things that I noticed here. You see a massive climax on volume right here, on a massive Darth Maul dildo. Technically, we do not have fall through to the downside just yet. We need to get below the low of this dildo at 1479.99. So basically 1480-ish region. Anywhere below there, then yes, I do think that gold comes down significantly further, down to about 1450 and probably even lower than that. But for right now, I would say that this offers up a very, very interesting way to kind of trade it, as technically most people are going to look at this as a as a rejection and a bearish reversal. I would say that it's unconfirmed as of right now, and what I would be doing from here is I wouldn't be trading it. I would either wait for us to take out the low side of this wick right here, and then perhaps take a little bit of a short down to 1450-ish region, or if this thing is remain bullish, which I do think that longer term it is bullish. I actually do think that longer term it's still macro bullish, kind of in the same way that I think Bitcoin is. But short term, if we actually did take out this level right around here, if we even closed another daily doodle above about 1510, we could call it, then I'd actually be looking for this to trend to the upside once again. And at that point in time, I actually don't have too many, I don't have any more measure moves kind of pointing us upwards. But what I do have, we just kind of have to use the force right over here and kind of go off of past prior levels. And I would say that 1575 would be the next one that kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. Yeah, anywhere between about 1575 and about 1600 in this region right here is where I'd be looking towards. Now, higher time frame still very much bullish. I really like the monthly right here. As I do the weekly as well. I mean, both time frames kind of shining through. But I would say that lower time frames, just like Bitcoin, you're gonna have your ebbs and flows of the market. So it's really gonna come down to that next daily doodle close. Do we take out the low side of this guy, or do we close above 1510? Whichever one happens first, that's the next side that I'm going with. If we do close above 1510, I actually would be looking for another trending move to the upside, which will be further confirmed if we can get above the high of I suppose yesterday's daily doodle at 1535-ish region. So again, if Bitcoin and gold are going to be heavily correlated, we actually do want to see gold go up here to aid Bitcoin. If you do want to be bullish on Bitcoin, of course, we are traders here, so we don't really join the bullish gang or the bearish gang. Although I've been a perma bull recently, to be fair, but on this one, I would it would look damn good if we got back above about 1510-ish region and held there, closed the daily doodle above there. That would look damn good for another trending move, is what I'm really trying to say. Let's go check out traditional markets. Traditional markets carrying out that bounce that we spoke about yesterday, so I do like that. Now, we actually did regain the red 10 symbol. I do think that this bounce gets extended a little bit more. We actually got a little bit of a higher, we actually took out last week's high by just a smidgen, actually about half a buck right there, so not bad. I do think that this actually gets another try to the a little bit higher tomorrow. Sorry, on tomorrow's trading action, and I'll be looking for probably somewhere around about 295-ish region, and then I'll reassess from there. I don't feel too much confident other than that, though. I would say that I think that the bear is telling you that this thing is going to crumble down from this area right here, right now. They are severely wrong. I also think that the bull is telling you that this thing is going to blow to the upside from this area. They're also wrong. If it's going to go to the upside, it's going to melt, man. It's just going to be like a slow trudge, most likely. But what we're looking at right here does look like this bounce wants to extend to me. I do think that momentum oscillators are on the same side as that. Yes, we do see daily Stokes the upside. We also see daily RSI taking out the exponential and working its way out of the bearish control zone as well. So I do like these things. And more importantly, we came all the way down to the 200 exponential moving average on the daily. This is going to be a high area for bounce to begin with. As you can see, the whole way up, this has actually been holding it pretty damn well. So, longer term, I do think that was, like we said last week, I do think that this was, an opportunity. If you did buy here, I think that you did a phenomenal job. I do think that this gets extended a little bit more, but I'm not willing just yet to say that I believe that this is, going to trend to the upside. Or if it's going to reverse or if it's going to continue the downside. This market is so fucking politically driven right now. We very rarely see this to this extent. Of course, markets are always going to be have some air of politics in them, but to the extent that we see right now in today's world, it is significantly more politically driven. Of course, trade wars and all that bullshit as well. So trading this is very difficult, especially when you're trading like the major indice of traditional markets, which is SPY, SPX, because there's going to be bi-weekly expirations on options, and the most eyes are on something like this. So the most games going to be played on something like this as well. Anyways, so that's kind of why I back off from looking at the lower time frames too much, just because, or on an asset like this, just because I wouldn't feel all that confident with, and especially with tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be an expiration. We got Wednesday bi-weeklies coming up, baby. Get those fucking expirations out and flying around. I do think that we work our way back up here. But again, lower time frames, not too confident after that next move. I'd probably be looking towards about 295 and then 298. Nothing really changes below 298 for me though, or maybe 297.5 is what I should be saying. Yeah, 297.5. We'll go with that. Anyways, going back on to Bitcoin, let's start to wrap this bitch up, as it's already been quite a long stream. Going back onto Bitcoin, we do see, and to kind of just wrap this up, this area is still very much holding, but it's still way too early to judge this one. I don't want to claim victory or claim surrender or defeat on it just yet. It's too early for this one to judge this one. At the end of the day, man, as a trader, you find your edge, you use your edge, and let the chips fall where they may, and just trust that over time it's going to work out. Those statistics are designed that to over time work out in your favor. Again, of course, that means that the risk management portion of that equation needs to be very tight. And in this scenario right here, I would say that this one's just extremely straightforward. These are the two levels that I'm looking at right now, 10.7 to 10.850-ish region. Let's actually call it just 10.650 and get it completely in line with the white trend and simple. And as long as Bitcoin's closing above there, I would run with my former assumption that this is that medium and long term we are still bullish, and this is an opportunity right here. If we do break below it, then yes, I'd be looking for at the very least 10.200. I don't think that thing stopped there though. I think that we'd see a small bounce here at 10.200, about 10.200-ish region right around here, and then ultimately actually go lower into this blue box right here at about 9,500. That's where things can actually change for me. Anywhere below 9,500, big problems. Longer term, we're talking. By the same token, if Bitcoin actually does bounce back up, which I don't think happens today. But if it were going to happen and get back above 11,150, I would say that would confirm that this is going to likely get played out. That would be the first initial confirmation tool that I'd be looking for. However, it's technically not really solidified until we get back above this pivot right here at about 11,550-ish region. Just because it was born off of a more macro level than what we're looking at right over here. But I would imagine that if we could break this guy to the upside, that's gonna now become a nice support trend line. But we're getting way ahead of ourselves right now. Let's actually let the price action kind of play out for a little bit of time. By tomorrow, by sometime midday tomorrow, the next day, we should have a pretty damn good, we should have clarity on the situation if this is going to play out or not. But until then, it's going to be a little bit of a waiting game. And well, I'm just going to be waiting here with you guys, holding hands and quite excited about it, regardless of it. If it does end up failing, well, there's always the next trade, of course. Anyways, that's going to do it for today. I do want to wish you well. I do also want to wish you the best and the happiest of the happiest. Take care and see you soon.